Hey Bethel kids, happy Sunday. Hey, if you can see me, give me a thumbs up. Awesome. I'm so happy to sorta see you again. All month long, we have been talking about what it means to turn things upside down with humility. Humility is putting others first by giving up what you think you deserve. It's not always easy to choose to be humble, but remember, we know what humility looks like because of Jesus. We can follow his example by turning things upside down and putting others first. This week's bottom line is this: there is always more to discover about God's plan. Before we get into our Bible story today, we're going to have a time of worship. So stand up to your feet, and let's worship Jesus.
I've got a reason to keep believing true, whatever comes my way. 'Cause I put my hope and trust in the only one who's faithful every day. In the darkest night, you are by my side. I'm never alone because I know I can always trust you. I can always trust you. Every day and every moment, my future, yeah, you hold it. I know it. I can always trust you. I can always trust. I can always trust. I can always trust you. I can always trust. I've got a Savior who will always walk me through whatever comes my way. 'Cause I put my hope and trust in the only one who's faithful every day. In the darkest night, you are by my side. I'm never alone because I know I can always trust you. I can always trust you. Every day and every moment, my future, yeah, you hold it. I know it. I can always trust you. I can always trust. I can always trust you. I can always trust you. Every day and every moment, my future, yeah, you hold it. I know it. I can always trust you. I can always trust. I can always trust. I can always trust you. I can always trust. I can always trust.
Just after Jesus died on the cross and came back to life, 2 of his followers were traveling to a village called Emmaus. This journey would have been around 7 miles long. And remember, there were no cars, bikes, scooters, or skateboards. These 2 men were walking the whole way. As they walked, the men talked about everything that had happened. They had heard how Jesus had been arrested and how he had died on the cross. And now they were hearing rumors that Jesus had come back to life. They talked about everything they had heard, and they wondered if it could possibly be true. Now get this. As the friends walked and talked, Jesus came up and walked alongside them. But God kept the 2 men from recognizing Jesus. Jesus asked them, "What are you talking about as you walk along?" One of the men said this, "Are you the only person visiting Jerusalem who doesn't know? Don't you know about the things that have happened there in the last few days?" Jesus said, "What things?" And the 2 men went on to explain everything that had happened. "About Jesus of Nazareth," they replied. "He was a prophet. He was powerful in what he said and did in the sight of God and all the people. The chief priests and our rulers handed Jesus over to be sentenced to death. They nailed him to a cross. But we had hoped that he was the one who was going to set Israel free. Also, it is the third day since all this happened. Some of our women amazed us too. Early this morning, they went to the tomb, but they didn't find his body. So they came and told us what they had seen. They saw angels who said Jesus was alive. Then some of our friends went to the tomb. They saw it was empty, just as the women had said. They didn't see Jesus' body there." This was pretty wild. These two men were going on and on about Jesus, and they were actually talking to Jesus, but they didn't realize it. Jesus took a minute to help them understand some things. Jesus reminded them of the scriptures that they had heard since they were children. He reminded them of the words that had been written thousands of years before that told how Jesus would be born, he would suffer, and die. He was trying to help them to understand that he, Jesus, was the Savior who had been promised so long ago. Finally, they arrived at the village where they were going. The men asked Jesus to stay, and he agreed. Of course, they still didn't know it was Jesus until he took the bread and gave thanks. He broke it and started to give it to them. Immediately, God opened their eyes, and they could see that it was Jesus. As soon as they recognized him, he disappeared right in front of their eyes. The men said, "He explained to us what the scriptures meant. Weren't we excited as he talked with us on the road?" Basically, they were like, "How did we not know it was Jesus? He explained everything." They were so excited to know that they had been with Jesus that they ran to tell everyone. The two men raced back to Jerusalem and told the disciples what had happened. They said that they had seen Jesus and that now they knew for sure it was true. Jesus was alive. They were amazed to discover how much bigger God's story was than they had ever imagined. That's the thing, isn't it? There's always more to discover about God's plan. God's plan is so much bigger than we can see. Sometimes things happen that we don't understand, but we can trust that God is in control and that his plans for us are always good. You know, sometimes humility means that you've got to admit when you don't know something. No one has it all figured out. We need God's help to be able to understand things that happen in our lives. Think about the two men who were walking down the road together. They had heard about what had happened with Jesus, but they didn't understand it. They couldn't see the big picture. When Jesus came alongside them, he helped them connect the dots so they could see his bigger plan. We are never done learning because there's always more to discover about God's plan. It's fun to imagine what Jesus told the men on the road that day. Maybe he explained how God created the world and everything in it. Maybe he explained that all of us have done wrong things and our sin separates us from God. Maybe he talked about the prophets and how they had told everyone that the Savior was coming to rescue his people. Maybe Jesus explained that he had come to die on the cross and pay the price for our sin so that we can have a relationship with God that will last forever. We don't really know, but we do know that the two men were so excited because Jesus had helped them understand God's big story. They couldn't wait to tell everyone that he was really alive. There's always so much more to learn about math, science, social studies, art, and definitely about God. So always be ready to learn more about who God is and how much He loves you. There's always more to discover about God's plan, and learning more about Him is always the wise choice. See you next time, Bethel kids.